You know, when most of us look at a health insurance policy, we think about claims, we think about coverage, and maybe some peace of mind. But today, we're going to flip that on its head. We're not looking at this as consumers, we're going to put on our investor hats and really try to understand the engine that makes this whole business tick. So let's pop the hood and see how this thing actually works.
A lot of people have this deep-seated belief that no matter what happens, their insurer will be there for them. But, as this quote points out, that's only part of the story. Now, this isn't because insurers are out to get you. It's because their business model, by its very nature, is incredibly vulnerable to abuse. And to survive, they absolutely need a rock-solid strategy.
The best way to think about a health insurance policy, especially from a business point of view, is to see it as a fortress. Seriously, it's a structure with multiple, very deliberate lines of defense, and they're all designed to do one thing: protect the company's financial health and make sure it's around for the long haul. So let's explore these defenses, wall by wall.
Okay, the very first wall of this fortress is all about timing. It's specifically designed to stop people from trying to game the system by only buying insurance when they know for a fact a huge expense is right around the corner.
I mean, think about it from your perspective. Your doctor tells you, hey, you're going to need cataract surgery in about a year. You might think, perfect. I'll just go buy a policy right now, pay a tiny premium, and then have the insurance company cover the entire massive cost of the surgery. For you, it seems like a no-brainer, but for the insurer, that's a guaranteed loss. This situation is a classic business problem, and it has a name: adverse selection. So, how do they possibly defend against it?
Well, they use a really simple but incredibly powerful tool: waiting periods. This is just a set amount of time right after you buy the policy where certain treatments are just not covered. It's the first and maybe the most important gatekeeper of the whole fortress.
Now, this slide here lays out exactly how this defense is layered, and it's pretty clever. If you follow the timeline, for the first 30 days, pretty much only accidental hospitalizations are covered. Then, from that point up to 2 years, most unexpected illnesses, think dengue, malaria, sudden heart conditions, they get included. But look at the very end. For those planned, non-emergency things, like our cataract example, you have to wait a full 2 years. This layered approach is how they brilliantly filter out those immediate, predictable, and costly claims.
Okay, let's move on to the second line of defense. Once a claim is actually eligible, the next job for the insurer is to control the financial damage. This is all about limiting the scope of what they have to pay out.
So imagine you've bought what looks like a fantastic policy. It's got a big, impressive cover amount, let's say 10 lakh rupees. You're feeling pretty secure, right? You're thinking you're protected for any major expense all the way up to that limit.
Then something bad happens. A slipped disc requires some serious treatment and the final hospital bill comes to 4,36,000 rupees. Now that's a huge sum, but hey, it's well within your 10 lakh cover, so you should be totally fine, right?
You submit the claim, feeling confident that the full amount is going to be settled. I mean, that's what insurance is for after all. But this is exactly where that second defense mechanism kicks in.
And here is the shocker. The insurer only pays 2 lakh rupees. You're left holding a massive bill, just scratching your head wondering, what just happened? How is this even possible?
The answer is in a powerful little clause called a disease-wise sublimit. Buried deep in the policy's fine print, there's a specific cap on what the company will pay for certain procedures, and it doesn't matter what your total cover is. From a business perspective, it's an absolutely critical way to cap their financial exposure on common, expensive treatments.
Now, sublimits are one thing, but this fortress has an even more rigid, unbreachable wall. There are certain conditions and treatments that insurers will simply never pay for, ever. These are called permanent exclusions.
The logic here usually boils down to one simple question: is this treatment truly medically necessary? So, as you can see on the left, surgery for a broken jaw after a car accident, yeah, that's necessary. It's covered. But on the right, surgery just to fix misaligned teeth is considered cosmetic, so it's excluded. And in the same way, if a liver transplant is needed because of chronic alcoholism, that's almost always a permanent exclusion because it's viewed as a result of lifestyle choices. It's a hard line, but it protects the business from covering non-essential or self-inflicted costs.
Okay, so far these defenses have all been focused on the policyholder, but there's another massive source of risk for an insurer: the hospitals themselves. Let's dig into how this third line of defense works.
The unfortunate reality is that some hospitals can and do inflate bills, especially when they know a big insurance company is footing the bill. They might add unnecessary expenses or push for more expensive treatments. So how does an insurer protect its bottom line from this kind of abuse?
They use a three-pronged strategy, as you can see right here.
First, they flat out exclude non-medical consumables. That means they aren't paying for things like gloves, cotton, or basic admin fees. Second, the policy language gives them an out by saying they'll only cover costs that are just and reasonable. This lets them push back against inflated bills. And finally, the nuclear option. They maintain a blacklist of hospitals that have a history of fraud, and they just cut them out of their network entirely. These tools, together, keep the whole provider ecosystem in check.
All right, let's step back for a second and put our investor hats back on. What does all of this really mean for the business of insurance? How should we, as investors, view all these seemingly restrictive clauses?
The most crucial takeaway for any investor is this. These defenses aren't bugs in the system. They are the system. Waiting periods, sublimits, exclusions, provider controls. These are the core risk management pillars that allow an insurance company to actually stay profitable and stay in business. Without them, the entire model would just collapse.
So let's just recap that fortress strategy one more time. Step 1, you use waiting periods to fight off adverse selection. Step 2, you use sublimits and exclusions to put a hard cap on your financial exposure. And Step 3, you police the providers to stop fraud and overcharging. This is the complete, multi-layered defense that makes the whole business viable.
And all of this brings us to one final, really interesting thought. As investors, when we analyze this industry, we have to ask ourselves a fundamental question. Is the true sign of a strong insurance company the big promises it makes on the front page of a policy, or is it the complex, sophisticated fortress it has built behind the scenes to masterfully manage and avoid risk? Because that, at the end of the day, is what truly determines its long-term strength.